All right. So, just a quick review. We were talking about the parts of the brain, and so we put in here the frontal lobe, and I'm going to start giving you some notes about the frontal lobe. The parietal lobe is this section that's in red. The occipital lobe is this section that is in blue. Temporal lobe is in purple. Cerebellum is green, and our brainstem. Now, I've cordoned this all off like this so that you can add in the notes, okay? So, I need to find my pen. I had a nice pen.
Mr. Hotchkiss?
Yeah.
Could you take a second just to introduce the lovely young lady we have with us here today?
I got your first name. I missed your last name. Mrs. Rodewald?
Who has
Okay.
been a teacher in this district for
Forever.
For who knows how long?
It's been
So
a
she's not a
long time.
newbie like sub walking in. She was at North, Belvedere High
just do?
School. How long were you at Belvedere before North?
I was at Belvedere for 15 years.
15
and
years,
then
and then
North.
all of North.
All
So-
of North.
Ms. Rodewald knows Belvedere better than anybody in this building.
I've also been to South.
So,
Yeah.
yes, she's been in every building, guys. So if there's anything you guys, she's not just like, you can ask her real, she's a math teacher.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Probably knows about brains too.
she got.
Oh, that was.
I'm sure.
I love that study.
Oh, good.
I really got into it.
All right.
I
Yeah.
thought that was
I think-
really fascinating.
I want to say they're really interesting too. I mean, just knowing, especially at your age, how much is changing in your brains right
Amazing
now.
when you look at her
So,
brain, it just looks like it's just.
blob of spaghetti.
Let it go on in there, right? It's just like
Yeah.
a piece of meat or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever had head cheese.
cheese?
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. If you can read it, go ahead. Yeah, head cheese is made from the brains of cows. That's why it's called head cheese.
Oh,
It's gross. I used to work at a deli, and it's it is. It's like this gelatinous mass with a bunch of little pieces of chipped meat in it. Yeah, it just kind of
Okay.
floats there. It wiggles a little.
that sounds right.
I don't think they sell it much anymore because mad cow disease is like really, really bad. You don't want that. What's that?
Yes.
Parietal. Yeah, sorry, my spelling there. Parietal. All right. Did we not get all the names on these yet?
Mutation? Mutilation? Under decision making, what does that say?
Motivation.
Motivation.
Yeah. All right, and I'll go through everything. I just want to make sure everybody's got it. So this front part's the frontal lobe. Second part's parietal. Sorry about that. That's an E.
Here you go.
Kind of messed that up. Occipital lobe. It's Occipital lobe. It's hard to read this in here, but this is the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe.
What are you guys doing?
Cerebellum.
Okay, so he wants you to color it. Yeah, he wants you to color it.
And brainstem. Yep, you color it in.
Couldn't think of
That's why I brought colored pencils and markers. I like draw my eye. I made it at green eyes because my eyes are kind of green. So this is my brain. This is my brain on color.
I didn't realize it was bad.
That's okay. I see you colored yours all pink, which is a little more accurate. I think it's more like gray, isn't it? They call it gray matter. So it kind of has a gray look. Now, when I taught 8th grade, we were going to do some dissecting of brains, and we just ran out of time, so I kept them in the cupboard. These sheep brains. They're about as big as your fist, maybe a little smaller than your fist, and they were gray. So
So when you open up a brain like that, can you tell the different, like,
it doesn't look like much.
you know what I mean? Like, top left, like,
You didn't do it
break
in
'em up.
college?
I never did a brain. We did a live pig.
A
baby
live pig.
Not a live pig, but, yeah. A
cadaver.
dead.
Okay, you mean a
baby
pig fetus? I
mean,
think
it
is
was
what they
like
are.
a full pig. Though.
Yeah, yeah.
Real pig.
They call them. I think
Parts
fetal
of it.
fetal pigs. That's what
Yep.
they call them. Yeah, yeah,
We had to do the slicing down,
Yeah.
open it up, in the rib cage.
yeah. Cats. Feral cats were
Body
used a lot in high
Yeah,
schools.
we did that in college.
Yeah.
Cats, brains, pigs.
I had a high school teacher at Huntley who used to do that, and then when he left, it disappeared. And so they'd be all splayed out like this for
Yep.
like weeks at a time as everybody was like working with them. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Kind of gross. Yeah.
Well, anatomy.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter what color you want. Whatever color you want. Hey guys, the color doesn't matter. You can color it any color you want.
Amazing how, like, you can't tell where the temporal lobe
No.
is when you open it up.
No, it's kind of hard. And then, in fact, I don't know if you saw in the lab on Friday, there was some pictures of the brains. I'm not going to dig them out. I've got it all put away. Yeah. In fact, I might be able to pull it up later. Okay, so I've got this all labeled in. So here we have in the frontal lobe, I've got decision making, motivation, inhibition. So what's inhibition? Inhibition. I like that word because a lot of kids your age have trouble with this one thing because our frontal lobe is not completely developed yet. Do you know what that is then?
Inhibition.
If I inhibit something, what do I do?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of the shun. If I inhibit something. You ever used antibacterial on your hands? What does that inhibit? The growth of germs and bacteria on your hands, right? Or you spray stuff on there, kill it inhibits growth of viruses and germs, right? So if we look at this word inhibit, what we're doing is we're inhibiting things that maybe you shouldn't be doing. Okay. For example, I'm older now, so I know that I can't stay up late. So I'm inhibiting my staying up late, and I think it's kind of a weird word to say it, but I'm trying to get to bed early enough so that I can function during the day. Kids don't necessarily understand that night guy, like look at Ash, she's about to pass out right now. Night guy's in charge, but can't be in charge, because morning guy's going to be like, holy cow, what the heck did you just do? All right. So this inhibition here, this is the frontal lobe here is what helps you to kind of like determine what's best for you. And then you control that rather than having your parents say go to bed or don't drink now because you have to work tomorrow. Okay. I didn't go out much but there was this group of teachers that would go out on Thursday nights when I was younger, and they'd all come in hungover the next day. Like, why would you do that?
Thursday night.
I know, that was the night, and I think it's kind of common. I don't know. Maybe that's how they got through the next day. I don't know. One guy I worked with, he'd come in and he just did not smell good either. Have you ever smelled someone who drank too much? Pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And in fact, if you're out late drinking and you go into work still smelling like it, that means you are technically still probably under the influence, I would say. So this inhibition thing, this is your frontal lobe knowing, but that doesn't mean that we listen to it, right? It's doing its job, though. It's saying, hey, this isn't a good idea. All right, other things, language.
Would it be as simple as, oh, Kenny just called me and he's got a party to go to, but I don't know if we really should go, because
There could be X,
Could be
Y, Z
trouble
there.
tonight,
Yeah,
but-
there could be trouble. Yeah, I know there's a guy who's out to
typical
get me.
kids probably going anyways, because they don't have the ability kind of, or you're
Right,
saying.
right. Because we have other parts of our brain that are much more developed. One of them is that pleasure-seeking part of our brain where we just like to do things because it's fun. And we don't really think of the repercussions. Like, what would happen if I go there and so-and-so's there who wants to kick my butt,
That's the little devil and the little angel.
Right, yeah. And the devil wins a lot when you're younger. I remember. Yeah.
Just hope it's not
Yep.
very costly or
Yep.
hurt other people.
Yeah. I did not get arrested for it, but there is some B&E in my life, so. But the neighbors found out and we got in trouble, so. Yep, that was a bad summer.
B&E?
Breaking and entering.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Now when you're younger?
Yes. I'm going to blame my brother
I would too.
because it was his fault. It was his idea. We just follow along. All right. So then we got, let's see what else we got here. I think I got everything on here. Selecting words and speech production. I know it's hard to read my handwriting. I apologize. So selecting words, that's like knowing what word to pick.
Let's get that out.
I have something wrong with my frontal lobe because I lose words. I also lose names. I couldn't even remember Mr. Lascola's name this morning. It was really weird. It's like
Right,
a-
sometimes you forget the most basic words though.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Ron Spell.
And that's just because you have all these wirings in your brain. They're called neurons. You got all these wires in your brain, and sometimes they just don't fire off enough, or they don't fire at all. All right, speech
You
production.
do things to damage your neurons.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Anytime you take a blow to the head. Now we'll talk about that when we start talking about the interior of the brain. We'll talk about parts of your brain that are designed to kind of like protect the brain. But our brain is not designed for what it what we do to it. Let's just say that. Okay, so you can wear a helmet, but the helmet's on the outside. It's the inside of the brain that needs some help. That's why I didn't watch the game last night. I do not like watching people hit their heads.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
You watch the commercials?
I didn't even turn the TV on.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we went out to dinner and then we went home and I was reading a book for a little while and we watched something on Hulu and then I went to bed. So it was my youngest had her boyfriend over and they had like their Valentine's Day dinner.
Oh, okay.
We just wanted to be out of the house, so we just disappeared. Yeah, and hung out in the bedroom and so it was nice. It was a nice quiet evening.
Everybody was out and about yesterday.
It was a good game, I gotta say though. Patrick
Okay.
Mahomes put on
Wow.
quite a show in the second half. Like they'll be talking about his performance for quite some time.
No.
Because he got hurt right before he had a bad high ankle sprain. If everyone knows anything about ankle sprains, a high ankle sprain is
Yeah.
the bad one to get. You want a low ankle sprain. High ankle sprains take over a month to high.
Let's be clear, you don't want any ankle sprains.
You're right. But a high ankle sprain usually takes you out for a while.
That hurts. So where's that? Is that like centered up in this area?
So it's more up. I think it was on his outside, but
Oh, okay.
right before halftime, he rolled out and a guy basically ripped his leg out. And he went to the halftime, and you could see it on his face in severe pain, like he was in
Limping.
pain, limping, pain, down 10 points at halftime. They come back in the second half and they won the game
Sweet.
with his bad ankle. They're gonna talk about him for a while.
All right.
Just saying.
Well,
Oh, that's
I
okay.
understand bad ankles. I really do. I've got one right there. This one's bad. I got one. It's bad. Oh, it hurts all the
Did you
time.
like the halftime show?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got 3 broken toes. I use foot still.
I thought you
That
had
hurts.
a couple other people
How
out
did you
there
do
with
that?
And, I broke a bone in my ankle right here.
But,
Wow.
But then it re-healed wrong.
and she was pregnant.
Ah.
Yeah.
Are you doing it on like? What are you doing
I
that
give her a
makes
lot of
it?
credit. I mean, I like your song, but
Just do it, huh?
you get lifted in the air like that,
Live every day.
and
Living on the edge.
Yep.
That's not living by your frontal lobe. That's living by this part down in here called the amygdala. We'll get to that. All right, so are we good on this? I think that's all I want for this one. Now, there are 2 parts to the frontal lobe, and I'm going to write that up here. So I'm just going to draw an arrow this direction. We have the premotor cortex, premotor
let's wait for a good Doritos.
cortex. Oh, you can't even see what I just wrote. There we go. Premotor cortex. Let me zoom in. Get the zoomies. All right. This, who's very athletic? Anybody? Athletic? You like to do lots of athletic things? You're good at sports, things like that, right? This part of your brain, it stores information for motor patterns, so movement, okay? So things like getting better at handwriting, things like learning how to shoot a basketball. Have you ever done something and you just felt super clumsy while you were doing it, but after you kept practicing, you got better at it? Like, for example, ice skating. Have you ever gone ice skating? No? How about rollerblading? Okay, you could probably, if you can rollerblade, you can ice skate. But if you remember learning how to rollerblade or learning how to skateboard, you probably felt kind of really weird about it, or learning how to ride a bicycle. Okay, your brain had to learn how to make those patterns, those parts of your body movements that are practiced and well used. For example, writing. So some of you have really good handwriting, so you probably are really good at motor skills, right? So the premotor cortex, it stores those motor patterns, storage of motor patterns. So this is one part of the frontal lobe. So I'm going to just put up here 2 parts. And this is number 1. Okay? The second part has a lot of different jobs. Okay, so I may run out of room, so I'll just give you some of the highlights because some of them are kind of repeats of what happens in here. So actually down here you see where it says motor control. Actually, you don't see that because I zoomed in. So I already had motor control down here. So again, some of these are going to be kind of repeats, but they happen in a different part. So this is number 2. So, bathroom? Can you hurry? All right. All right. So the next one is called the prefrontal cortex. Have you heard of that one? Yes? No?
Maybe.
This part is the part that takes the longest to form in your brain. The longest. So if you have trouble with concentration, this may not be fully developed yet. How do you fix that? How do you get that stronger? That's a really good question. How do you get better at concentration? How do you get better at anything? Miguel, how do you get better at anything? There you go. Thanks, Miguel. All right, elaboration of thought. So this is a big word, elaboration. So if I elaborate, that means I give you more details, all right? Has Mr. McNeil asked for more details on your game rules?
No.
Or more clarification?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he has. So what that means is like he's trying to help you develop this frontal part of your brain where you can elaborate more. What I find interesting now, how many of you use GPS to get places?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Depending if it, well, we don't know where it is.
Okay.
I try not to.
Excellent, because elaboration of thought could also be as far as like knowing how to tell somebody to get somewhere. Like there was a time we didn't have GPS. So we'd stop at a gas station for directions, and somebody who works there might know how to get to where we're trying to go, and they'll give us like, oh, you got to take a right, you got to take a left. I mean, this is elaboration of thought at its finest, where we have to try to elaborate. We have to see and visualize things in almost 3 dimensions, and then we can then figure out where we're going. Sometimes we have to write it down, step by step. Yeah,
But this is modern technology.
you're right.
I learned the whole Rockford from driving with my parents.
Yeah, my mom told me that the best way to find your way around is to get lost somewhere. Would you agree? Get lost somewhere is the best way to find your way around?
Say ride your bike around the whole town.
Oh my gosh, riding your bike around the town. Anytime you can do it slowly, even walking, you're going to get better at it, right? Yeah. So this part here, this prefrontal cortex, stores some of that stuff and those thoughts and helps you kind of like find your way around as well. So it gets better as you get older. Judgment. Judgment's like weighing your options, okay? So knowing what's the best option. You're going to judge all the options. You're going to be like, oh yeah, this is probably my best course of action, or this is the best thing I should do. All right, that's one's pretty self-explanatory. Inhibition goes in there again. I'm not going to put it on again, but that happens up here. So that's like, I would say same thing with judgment, you know, like knowing what's the best thing for you and then doing it, right? Next one I got is personality. So who you are is basically mostly stored in here. Like you make decisions to change who you are, and maybe, you know, as you get older, you kind of develop into somebody that you don't recognize from when you were like 12. That's okay. That's your brain is like trying to figure out who you are. So a lot of stuff like that happens up there as well. And then emotional traits. Okay. Emotional traits would be like, you know, your emotions, of course, and maybe how you react to things as well. You'll find out later that these emotional traits are a little bit higher order function than the emotions you might have from the amygdala. The amygdala is more of a fight or flight or freeze, where you either fight whatever's happening, you run away from whatever's happening, or you freeze. You ever seen a deer in the headlights? You ever had that effect on yourself? Like something happened and you're like, your hand got caught in the cookie jar, and your parents are like, get your hand out of there, or somewhere, right? That's, you know, happens sometimes. So those are the 2 parts of the frontal lobe. All right. I know I put a lot of information in that corner. Did you make it? Did you get it all there?
No.
No?
Have you ever had a freezing moment?
Yep, sure have.
What's it feel like?
I don't know, like your brain just freezes, like all thoughts kind of disappear, and you're just like, oh. But then it comes back real quick.
What was happening?
I'm sure it was something like that, because, you know, as a little kid, you get in trouble by going into the cupboard and grabbing food sometimes. I don't know, maybe you guys don't. Maybe. My mom was always there, kind of like keeping track of us, you know. I can't think of a specific example. How about you? Have you ever frozen? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to jump over to the parietal lobe. Are we all good on this one? Do you want me to zoom out some so you can see the rest of it? If you need to, right now would be a good time to take a picture of it. Let me just bring it up like this if you want to take a picture with your phone. Are we all good?
How? Go lower.
Like closer?
No, like just to the brain.
Oh, to the whole brain?
Mine's where it's supposed to be.
How's that? We good? All right, so I'm over here on the parietal lobe.
Well, mine's where it's supposed to be.
Okay, on here we have lots of things going on, but not quite as much as what's going on up here. And I'm sure there's more things. So here's something that kind of like keep in mind that the frontal lobe probably has a lot more going on than this. This is kind of what we know, but there's probably a ton more things going on up here.
That's right there.
All right. So over here we have things like calculation, so your math skills.
Temporal lobe.
Calculation can overlap with judgment, where you calculate the odds of completing some stupid thing like jumping your bike, like I tried to do once and ended up on my face.
No, mine's in the same lines as yours too. What are you talking about? They're the lines.
So they can kind of overlap or work together. Next one I got here is spelling.
What are you smoking?
Mr. Hodge, can you make that a little bigger?
I sure can. I can zoom right in. I just want to make sure everybody was good on it. So I'll zoom right in on what I'm doing right now. Is that okay? A little more?
No, that's perfect. That's
Okay.
good.
All right. So my spelling skills, calculation skills. I got lost. Oh yeah. So remember over here I said this stores your motor control over in the frontal lobe, but over here it's going to store information about learned skill gestures. So learned gestures or skilled gestures. So I just wrote the word gesture. A gesture would be something even as simple as writing the word gesture, like knowing that a G makes this shape, an E makes this shape. And your brain stores that stuff. There could also be other gestures, like giving the finger to someone. You know that gesture, right? Okay? So this is a learned skill. All right? Or the peace sign. Or the steps involved for doing a ballroom dance. I don't know. Stuff like that. Do you do ballroom dancing, Miguel? Do you do ballroom dancing? No? I could see you doing it, though.
I can
Do you?
never.
You could never? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, actually. I mean, if you have someone you like spending that time with, it's not too bad.
I double dog dare you.
To do what?
Eat this.
Eat it?
Maybe for my wife.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, like I said, you know, if it's someone you like spending time with. Later in life, right?
But then I'm still gonna look stupid.
Nah. Not if everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is doing it. All right, so both of these things have something to do with, you remember this word from the lab? Proprioception. This is your body sense. Okay, this is kind of stored in here too, because remember, learn gestures means you have to know where your body is at any given time. So proprioception, that's P-R-O-P-R-I-O-C-E-P-T-I-O-N, proprioception. I looked it up because I was saying it wrong last week, so I learned how to say it correctly. So that was me going back over to the frontal lobe and learning speech production, like learning how to say things right. So this is your body sense, and then think of like being able to sense space, like the world around you, being able to perceive that the world around you is here. And I'm going to put body sense and position. Body sense and position. Like right now, if I was to say, close your eyes and think of your right foot, can you locate your right foot? Just close your eyes and do it. Yep, I feel my right foot. Yeah. Can you wiggle your left ear? I don't know, but do you know where your left ear is? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure you do. I can feel my right thumb. I can feel my left thumb. Right? So I mean that's body sense. That's perceiving where your body is in space and time. So that's sensing space as well, right? So this is all happening right now without you even having to think about it in your parietal lobe. So there we go. We good for that one? All right, I'm going to jump down to the occipital lobe. All right, so I'm going to move down. Everybody good on that one? I can move? Calculation, spelling, learn, skill, gestures, proprioception, body sense and position, and sensing space. If I'm going too fast, say something. Something. All right, this one doesn't have that much. There's stuff that goes on back here, but your occipital lobe, I want you to notice that the occipital lobe is like just opposite of the optic nerve, right? So this optic nerve is super important because that's where all the information from your eye comes in, and your brain has to then turn it into something, right? So the occipital lobe is really important because it works with visual processing. Okay? So it interprets color, shape, motion, and position. Oops. So if you're colorblind, then there's probably something missing or some, I guess we could almost say some misfire in this part of the brain. Or just a different way that your brain works and perceives color. All right, and that's it for that one. Nice, huh? Not too much. All right, then we jump down to the cerebellum. Are we good? I'm not going too far. Should I give you a second?
That's it? Sure.
That's it for that one. Yep. There's probably more, but I'm not gonna. I just want you to be aware of these things. All right. Scooting down to the cerebellum. So just so you know that as we move backwards, you're getting to older parts of the brain. So this is an older part of the brain. This is the oldest part of the brain. So this part here probably is one of the first things to develop, and then the rest kind of moves in that pattern. Question?
So that's why we get in the back of the brain for motion.
Are you saying because?
I don't remember putting it like that. I think
Say that again.
myself.
Like for boxing and stuff, like when you get
Oh.
hit in the
Wait, you shouldn't get hit anywhere in the head.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, this is
In the back for motion, so that's when you like.
you probably see stars or something. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's perceiving the motion as well. You're right. Good point. And then also the position. So you will see like the punch coming, and then of course the position as it comes closer to you. So that change of position there. Yeah. So yeah, that's a kind of an important part, isn't it? Yeah. Do you like to box? No.
No.
Kind of. I know there's a few. There's a few in there. There's one on. This, we've had some boxers here before, like last year. But there's somebody who does like, was it MMA fighting? What's the fighting?
My grandpa was like going to boxing.
Oh yeah. That's pretty awesome. Wow. Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't like watching people hit each other in the face. You know, their head. It just kind of like wow. I used to have a punching bag though.
It keeps you healthy and it makes you fit.
Boxing does? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Miguel, do you box?
I used to learn Muay Thai. I mean, they asked me. Like,
Okay.
I got my license like,
All right.
you know, this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those are some of the fittest people I've ever seen too. Boxers. Yeah. They're not just like bulky. They're not just like lifting weight people. They're like they have to be able to move. Yeah. Yep. A lot of fast twitch muscles and yeah. All right. But I don't like being punched in the face. All right, the cerebellum. All right, so this one here is
You really try to perfect the song.
coordination.
Here.
and control. Oops, sorry. I'll start that over. Control of voluntary movement. Oh, I spelled meant wrong. N-T, there you go, movement. Yeah, my spelling, which one is that one? It's the frontal lobe, right? Prefrontal cortex. I'm not really good at spelling. Oh wait, no, that's the parietal lobe. All right, coordination and control of the voluntary movement. Voluntary meaning what?
You volunteer.
Yeah, you control it, right? Yeah, like when I just pointed at Eli, I'm voluntarily using my body to move. There are parts of your body that you don't have control of. Okay, have you ever had the doctor, when you're doing a physical, hit you in the knee or in the elbow and check your reflexes? Your reflexes like that are actually, they come from the brain stem or below. Okay, they have nothing to do with voluntary motion. Your brain is able to do that. Your body's able to do some motions without the brain. Put your hand on a hot stove.
Huh?
Your hand comes off pretty quick, right? That's kind of an involuntary motion, right? Your body is just involuntarily taking care of you. All right? So that's that one. I'm just going to leave you at that. Yeah, involuntary. Well, you voluntarily put your hand on the stove. You take it off pretty darn quick. That's what I meant. Right. All right, so brainstem. Brainstem is really important. Here's a really cool thing. Your brainstem takes care of all those things you don't have to think about. It controls things like your heart rate. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you read that? Oh, yeah, I'm in the right place. All right, good. Your heart rate, breathing rate. Have you ever had to think about digestion? What is digestion? Poop? I mean, before that, it's breaking down food, right? So when you eat, you don't have to think about it. Your body just breaks it down, right? It just does its job. So digestion. Heart rate, heart control, blood vessel control.
What does the second one say?
Breathing rate.
I thought you said quick.
Alertness. My favorite one is the breathing rate and the heart rate. Like I said, you don't have to think about it, but these two things you actually do have some control over. Okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever done meditation or mindfulness? Anybody? Where you just kind of think about your breathing? Yeah, you can actually change your breathing rate. You can control that. I can hold my breath, can't I? Have you ever gone swimming and held your breath underwater for as long as you could to see who could win? I've done that. I didn't win. I nearly died. No, okay.
Smoke.
Wait, what?
It's because you smoke.
I don't smoke. My parents smoked, so then I did smoke, whether I wanted to or not, because I was in the house. I'll be honest, though, I tried it. My parents were smoking. There were cigarettes everywhere all the time. Yeah, I tried it. I didn't get good at it, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, I never ever smoked.
I mean, good at it, yeah. You can actually change your heart rate. There's been some studies on that too, where you can actually concentrate long enough and hard enough. You can actually make your heart rate lower. So these are both things that you can do. It's hard for you to change your digestion.
You know, most people say like when they have a cigarette, I smoke because it relaxes me, it calms me down. But it actually is a stimulant.
It is a stimulant.
It
yeah.
actually gets the heart going. It does the exact opposite of what people tend to think.
Huh.
You know what I mean? But it
That
does,
is interesting.
Maybe it's a mental thing, but
Yeah,
it actually
yeah.
does.
Actually, it does. Your body reacts to it like a if you use it.
Okay. Yeah, ADHD is another one where stimulants will calm you down as well.
I mean, there are always those situations like some people can drink Mountain Dew and it actually calms them
Yep.
down.
Yep.
most people drink Mountain Dew, it kind of jacks them up.
It would jive me up
But
a
it
wall,
does have
yeah.
an opposite reaction to it.
Yeah.
That's how I am with
Yeah.
coffee.
I can't drink.
I don't get
Calms you down.
There are people that can drink 6 cups of coffee and then
Yeah,
still
make it
fall
quick.
asleep right away. Wow, some people would be up for the next 10 hours.
I don't
Yeah.
There are always those exceptions to the rules.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't get hyper. I actually get calm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
it's interesting.
All right. Are we good with this one? So this is, I'm going to give you a name for this. This is in charge of the autonomic, I spelled it wrong, sorry. Let me start over. Autonomic nervous system. Okay. Oops, let me get it up there. Autonomic nervous system. Auto meaning it does it on its own. All right. So even if I can change my breathing rate or my heart rate, I don't have to. Okay. It just does it for me, and that's good because if it didn't, I would be dead. Okay. Can you affect any of these things? Absolutely. Different hormones can cause problems with the heart rate and the breathing rate. Trauma in your life can cause you to release more cortisol, which then makes you live at a high rate of high blood pressure all the time, which is this blood vessel control. So things on the outside, stress in your life, can change these things too. Because it's autonomic, it's only reacting to your input and how you deal with things. So I don't know if you've ever had like a counselor at school or anybody help you work with stress. Mrs. Piskey is really good at that. As far as helping you deal with it in a mindfulness sort of way. But this is a good thing to focus on if you have a lot of stress in your life. Like, how can I help myself feel better and more calm? So, all right. So the last thing is this temporal lobe, right up here. Yeah, I'm going to write it down in this section here. I'm going to move this. So the temporal lobe is right here, this part. Okay? This is kind of where your storage is at, okay? Kind of like the hard drive, okay? So in the temporal lobe, and I'm just going to write the word temporal here just so you don't forget. So this temporal lobe is where memory of events, which is like, do you ever watch one episode of something? When I say episodic, that just means like one episode. So episodic or events. So they call it episodic memory. All right, so like remembering your favorite birthday, or remembering, I don't know, some bad event that happened in your life, like when you got in trouble for breaking into the neighbor's house. Personal experience. All right. I think I'm still grounded for that. All right, so the next one is memory for facts.
The size he is going to be the size he is in 10 years.
This is where you remember things like people's names. It's also called semantic memory. And I don't expect you to remember these things, but just know that in the temporal lobe, it's events and facts. That's where all this stuff is stored. All right. Also, this is, and notice where this is at. This is like lower on the brain, so this is where it actually forms a little bit earlier. This is why when you're younger, you're better at learning different languages. All right. So you might live in a bilingual house. I don't, because we all spoke English. You might live in a house where Spanish is spoken. I think there was somebody last semester who had German spoken in the house, or Polish. Facts, F-A-C-T-S, facts. So this is where language is stored, which is understanding speech. I mean, you may be able to speak a second language, but you may not be able to write it. Okay, so that's a different part of the brain. This part here is where it helps you to remember how to speak. and understand when somebody speaks to you. You ever notice that when somebody talks to you, you just understand what they're saying? You can't forget that. You can't forget how to understand people saying stuff to you. All right. Are we good? I think we've hit everything on this picture. Not bad. All right, we've been going for about 40 minutes. I think our first break is supposed to be about
Yeah, I might just
9:30, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes now. Finish up the notes. Take 5 minutes. We're going to start up again in about 25 after. Okay? Jack, did you get these notes today?
Yeah.
Where?
I have it.
Who's got it?
It's right over here.
Okay.
We took notes on it when I was gone,
Okay.
so we would have the notes.
Okay. Because he could have taken a picture and written it down.
He really puts his napkin over.